Hello everyone and welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. You are looking at, with a very close-up view, the Necchi Supernova of 1957. This of course is one of the Necchi sewing machines from the vintage era. I consider one of the greats. The Italians were innovating. They began with the BU models in Europe and then they brought them to North America. And they really helped in many ways to put zigzag on the map. Now, zigzag as a feature in a sewing machine was not new. It had been in industrial machines for decades. But having it in a home or domestic grade sewing machine was something that was a lot more complex to engineer and design, and of course it raised costs. Well, in the 1950s, labor costs and production costs in Italy were still rather a good bit lower than they would have been, say, in North America. And you had some incredible engineering going on at the Necchi company during this time, and they did not rest on their laurels. They had wonderful machines, but of course the marketplace was very competitive, and so Necchi decided to change their machine designs from the early 50s. You get into the late 50s, and they've once again changed things. Now I'm going to turn the camera a bit here, and I'm going to see if this will pick up for you guys. If not, I'll tilt the machine towards you. But any of you who've ever seen these machines, you'll notice that there's this round plate, and it is a basically the needle plate, right? And you'll notice that there are different shaped openings here, depending on the kind of sewing you're going to do. So instead of in past Necchi designs and other competitors' designs, where you would literally need to take the plate out, and let's say you wanted to go from zigzag stitching or stitching heavy material. Let's say you wanted to do something delicate and you only wanted straight stitch, you would need to swap out your needle plate. Well, Necchi thought, oh, well, how about if we just make it to be a revolving needle plate? Oh, yes. And they created this very interesting design. And you'll know that the machine had this because you can see the sliding bobbin plate here, which is beautifully made. It has this curve to fit the shape of this plate. So anyway, you're probably wondering, well, how the heck does this work? Where are my controls? So I'm gonna take the machine, and if you have one, remember, never grab it like this. Don't put stress on your needle bar side door. You always want to grab it by the chassis or by the belly, as I like to call it, underneath the throat. But I'm going to tilt the machine back, and if you have yours, I have mine on a card table at the moment, and this is not my normal workbench, but it's what I've got set up at the moment. And what I've done is, if you have something like this, I have like a little, we'll tilt down and you'll see I've got this little pad that I used to use for in the kitchen, and it's sitting on top of a towel, which is on top of the card table. And when you want to tilt your machine back, always cushion it. You can just take an old towel, you can roll it up. You don't need anything fancy. Right now I think I have an old pair of trousers that I'm going to be using as scrap cloth or something. But anyway, you just want to tilt it back and give it a little rest. Be gentle. I know these machines are tough, but again, you don't want to cause problems when you're trying to solve them. So, okay. So let's go underneath. I'm going to help you guys locate the device. It's not the most convenient thing, but I don't know how often you would change this. But I'm going to show it to you guys, and I'm going to get my little pointer here because I'm going to need a pointer. Okay, I went into my little tool set and found this little crewing tool, or you guys have told me what these are. So I use all sorts of little things to work on sewing machines that are, I guess you could say, they're not officially sewing machine tools. So I'm going to show this to you guys, and highly recommend that you get, if you have one of these machines, the same thing you should have with any vintage machine, or any new machine for that matter, is the user manual. It will answer so many of your questions. People come onto the channel and they'll say, well, how do I thread this machine? Well, many times I don't have the machine. In fact, most of the time, people see videos I made years ago, and I no longer have those machines because I'm not a collector. You know, I rescue machines, I get them working again, and I find them homes where people need strong, reliable sewing machines. But anyway, the manual is your friend. Now, I'm going to put on my little trusty flashlight here. See if this will help. Hopefully it's not too much glare. Now, what do you see here? You see the drive shaft. You see it goes over here to where the shuttle is, and of course your bobbin case is over here. But we're going to come back here. Line up your visual with this spot. Okay. I'm going to try to turn this, and I may adjust the camera here just a bit because I'm trying to get you to see something. Pardon me while I shift our little camera setup here. I'm going to raise the tripod just a bit because to get the right angle, I'm going to have to. Okay, now I'm going to come around this way. All right. And then I'm going to zoom in. I've got all these little adjustments I want to make because I know it's frustrating when someone's describing something to you and you can't see what the heck they're talking about. Okay, a couple of things. Let's shift down once more. You guys see this little lever? Looks like a little, basically a piece of steel where you can grab hold of it. Okay. Now, if you look, I'm going to have to zoom in again. And there went the tool. Okay. You see the lever, okay, you just grab a hold of it. Now, up here is a little pin, and that pin is attached. This is basically, you're looking at a pin that comes through the bed of the machine, and it moves. And you can see it moving because if I push up on it, you'll see it above on the bed. You'll see it pop up like a little pin. But notice if I push down on that pin like that, and notice this piece I'm holding with my thumb and finger is attached to a little hook, which is not easy to show. So let's move the camera again. Again, I don't want to go through asking you to look at something that you cannot see. So let's try this. Let's see if we can get there we go. I think that's a little bit better, guys, and we'll zoom in. I am both the narrator, the demonstrator, and the camera crew here, so bear with me. Okay. So what do you see here? You see the pin, it's pushed down, okay? You want it down. It's not hard to push in, it's pretty, loose. You can see me pushing it up, it moves freely. If yours doesn't, then you need some penetrant product to get it loose. Now, notice this piece, remember the little thing I'm still holding down here, you can't see it, but notice when I push, you see this little hook. Look closely. You see this right here? It's like a hook, and it's shaped to fit around this pin that I've been describing that comes in from the top. Now, now this thing has, if it is not spring-loaded, it is actually down here. Well, let's try this once more. Here we go. I don't want to lose the view of this, but now you can see me holding here. Okay, so it's actually attached to the bed of the machine. And you'll notice that, here we go. See when I turn it? Now, it comes down below the pin, okay? And that's basically disengaged. So I'm going to come up, and I'm going to push up, and then turn to the right. Right tight is a good way to remember this. Now, if I try to pull again, notice that it is engaged with the pin, and it will keep your needle plate flat, which is where it needs to be. You don't want that moving around when you're sewing. But let's say you want to move it. You want to rotate that little wonderful Italian design. Notice I'm going to take this and I'm going to simply turn it to the left or left loose. Notice when I do that, it comes off, right? And then it kind of just wants to plop down below the pin for you. You don't have to jerk or put any real pressure. Now, let's turn the machine up. Hopefully without destroying our camera setup here. Oh, and a big heavy beast. Okay, so here is the revolving needle plate. Now that we have loosened our plate, and make sure again, this is not a computerized machine. You've got to remember to move your needle right? It's not going to beep at you because you are the brains, right? Now, notice, let's make sure our feed dogs are in the down position, just rotating the hand wheel. Now watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take this plate, famous last words, now notice what I'm doing here, guys, right? Now I did not go back to read, notice I can spin this, right? It's easier for me to use this little tool. The manual may give a better, let's see if the plate comes off. Right now it's hitting the feed dogs. Don't let your needle come all the way down because, there we go. We don't have our zigzag opening here yet, and you will harm your needle. So we're going to take this again. And I'm going to take my finger underneath to see. One of the things I have noticed, because I've restored these machines before, and although you would know it listening to me fumble around here, but this design is very clever, but in practical use, and it works. You know, it's not fragile, but it's kind of just, you know, it's not the most convenient thing to use, and it could be that I need to go back and study that manual because there's a good chance that it is easier and that I'm making it extra hard on myself, and I have no one to blame but myself. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can. I just lowered the feed dogs over here, right here. I did that for a moment to see if that will get them out of my way and make this easier to turn, because this whole design was created to be convenient. And the way I'm doing it sure doesn't look convenient, does it? Okay, so let's make sure that turning it in the right direction. I think what I have here. What I had here was feed dogs in my way, and that wasn't helping, because this really should just spin. And I think we've got it. There's locked in over here. Looks like there's a pin that locks it, but I don't know if that's a pin or if that's just part of the plate. But I've been able to get there's a little piece of lint there. You'll always have lint on any machine, new or old. Okay, so now I've gotten this up. You can see the pin, because the pin is loose. You'll notice it's actually just popping up here, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to, there's nothing, you haven't hurt the machine. You know what I'm going to do is take the sewing foot off just to make things a little easier to see for both me and you guys. Okay, we know that our little lever here is fine. It's not engaged, so we haven't locked the plate into place. Oh, here we go. Haha. Notice that now that I have the, I guess the foot was hanging a little low. Look at this, guys. So now you can see I can spin it around, just making sure these feed dogs are low enough to be able to make good use of this wonderful design. Again, the needle is down, so if I listen to my own advice, here we go. So I'm just going to come over here, and you can see now it falls right into place around the feed dogs. And let's see, there we go. Let's try that. Okay, you'll notice that you see this hole here? I believe that's what's going on, is that it wants to rest in this pin, because in addition to the pin underneath with the lever, this pin is kind of a locking spot, and it prevents this thing from moving around. Because remember, when you're sewing, you're putting pressure in this area, and you don't want your The last thing you want is your plate to go flying around. Now I'm going to spin it around again, and we'll get it to the zigzag, which is going to be the most commonly used plate option here. And notice you can see where it came to rest. Again, this little hole came to rest with this pin, and now it's doing pretty well. But again, we're going to go back underneath, and then we'll go ahead and finish it. And there's nothing to do here. Notice I'm just going to push up and to the right, and now you can see that the tension that pulls this down is now holding that pin in place, and that helps between this pin. Well, that's a nice close-up of the tension assembly. If now we have this pin, the center pin holding the plate, and we have this one locking it. So now you'll notice I can do this with my fingers. So anyway, this is another example of, I like you guys watching me flounder. I could have done this and practiced it and made it look, but I wanted you to see that because I often hear from people who, they're not confident they can do something on a machine, or they're afraid that it's not going to work, or they drop something and they're afraid they've hurt the machine. And I like doing this way because to me, it's easy to say, oh well, this guy's been doing this for years. He's done hundreds of these, not hundreds of Neckis, but hundreds of vintage machines. Therefore, I can't do what he does. And the fact is, many of you guys have written to me and told me that you've been able to do it, and that's wonderful because that's the whole idea behind the channel. Is to get more of these machines rescued, because too many of them have gone to the landfills because people either didn't know what they had, or they didn't know how to repair what they had. And unlike modern stuff, these machines were designed to be serviced and repaired. So there you go. That is what you might call a long, rambling, rather clumsy way to show you that this device, it's very rare that these get stuck, because there's not, again, it's resting in this pin, but there's nothing particularly onerous about them. And again, you can adjust them. And again, I want to go back and I want to kind of look. I did not see, other than that little bit of lint, didn't really see a lot of lint here to be bothered with. And again, the quality of this plate is just amazing. I've already oiled this. This was actually, been working on this machine back in the fall, and then actually this is one of the last things I wanted to show you guys. And then I'm going to show you, I think the next thing will be doing some testing on the machine. Let's see, I'm going to talk to you about the bobbin winders, and the particular bobbin winders on this specific model, not all Neckis, but this one. And we will get the machine up and going, and hopefully it will live to sew again. It is one of the greatest pieces of engineering, certainly in zigzag machines, I think ever made. And Necchi really, they really put zigzag on the map and made it affordable in North America and got people interested in it. And that's why finally, the Singer company had to relent and bring out its own zigzag home machines for North America. So anyway, I hope you guys found this helpful, this little thing. And by the way, if you are still stumped, you can look to your manual. And if you don't have one, you can get one on the internet. You can get them as PDFs. People sell them. Make sure it's a secure site. Most of them are. And you can get them, sometimes someone may have one online to give you free, but I don't know, somewhere between $6 and $9 or something. It's a very useful thing to have. You can print out the PDF and you'll still always have a digital copy. Highly recommend that you guys, if you don't have a manual for your machine, try to get one. If you got one of the Japanese clones, you may have to find something that looks similar. If you can't find the specific brand of your Japanese clone. But these like I say, these manuals can be very helpful to you. The machine is still not really clean. I saved the body cleaning for the end, But anyway, we'll talk more about this machine and how it's going to be brought back and ready to sew again. Thanks for watching, guys.